I'm just gonna wait for you guys to join. Good morning. Say hi. Share this live. With your friends, family, cousins, anyone who's interested in immigration. Today's gonna be a good live. I'm gonna save it once I'm done. If this is your first time, say hi. Let me shout you out. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, Facebook. And good morning, YouTube. My name is Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration attorney here in Atlanta, Florida, but I also have an office in Orlando, Florida. But we represent clients in all 50 states. I know you guys blew up our DMs asking where we're located and whether we can help you. As long as it has to do with family immigration in the United States, your location doesn't matter. We can help you. So call 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp, 404-333-8751. If you're on on Facebook and YouTube, you can see the numbers through the ticker. On Instagram, you can check for our phone number in my profile. I'm also gonna write this in here as well, so you guys can and then pin it so you guys can call. So just give me a minute to do that. Y'all, I'm so happy this morning. I almost was not going to be on live this morning because I just got out of an interview for Citizenship for one of my clients. And, we were very concerned with my client due to some things that were omitted in their initial green card application. But when I tell you that it pays to be prepared, it pays to be prepared, because we anticipated every objection that USCIS was going to have. So we presented evidence of so much, at the interview. This interview lasted for only 8 minutes. And my client was recommended for citizenship. So I'm super excited this morning. I have another one right after this live. I have so many interviews this week. But I'm hoping for a 2 for 2 today. So, Minaj says, good morning, Aisha. Hope you enjoyed your long weekend. Unfortunately, I didn't have a long weekend. I never have any holidays. I literally work the entire time, but I'm going on vacation very soon, and a well-deserved vacation where I'm actually not going to be working for at least 3 days, which is great in heaven for me, just to, go and get myself refreshed and, get back into the groove of things. I see a few first timers. Welcome. I'm going to answer your questions. I really want to talk about T visas real quickly and just shifting gears a little bit. I talk about Valor all the time. A lot of people have been asking me to talk about T visas. So I just want to talk about that. That's something we can also help you with. So for those of you who don't know, basically a T visa, I'm going to try to explain it in the most simple form. When people hear T visas, they think human trafficking. They think someone plucked you out of the country, plucked you out of one country and human trafficked you to this country, and then you're eligible for a T visa. But it's a little bit more. There's a little bit more that goes on to it, and a lot of times people are eligible and don't realize that they're eligible. So let me give you the first definition of T visas, and I wrote it out as it is on USCIS just so that I can stay there. So basically, think of T visas this way: if you've ever been recruited, transported, obtained for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, coercion, for the purpose of basically involuntary servitude or debt, bondage, slavery, or peonage, those are basically what could qualify for a T visa. And I'm going to break them down into different hypotheticals or case scenarios so you understand. Note that a few things have to be met in order for you to qualify for a T visa. You have to show that the form of trafficking was severe. You have to show that you were physically present in the United States or at a port of entry. You also want to show that you're willing to comply reasonably with any request for assistance in investigation or prosecution or whatever the case may be, and that if they don't allow you to get the T visa, you're going to suffer substantial hardship. Okay. Also, of course, as with anything with immigration, you still have to be a person of good moral character. So you can't be saying that, you've been you've been what do you call it, that you've been trafficked and you're also trafficking people. So I'm going to throw about maybe like three scenarios just to give you an idea so that it can help you guys process this. And I'll talk a little bit more about it just so that like over the next few slides before I get into your question, just for those who qualify to make sure that they understand. So I'm going to give the example of, like, let's say H-2B visa holders. So there are times when, like an example would be, let's say an agency here is like recruiting H-2B visa owners. Recruiting people for H-2B visa work or something like that back in whatever country they are. And they tell them, okay, this is what the recruitment fee is, like $10,000. You can find a way to basically, get the money. We'll pay you the money when you come here, or whatnot. And then, you borrow money from somebody. And then you come here, and they've already told you basically that, they're going to basically provide food for you. They're going to provide shelter, and all of that stuff. And then all of a sudden you get here and none of those promises are kept. So one, you're in debt to the person that you borrowed the money from. Two, you're being forced to work to be able to pay for a place to live, a place to eat, even though that person did not hold the end of the bargain. And sometimes they even force you and say, okay, when you finish this job, take this other job, and then we'll pay you so that you can pay the other person you owe. So in that case, as you can see, it's not that somebody was physically removed, and transported here. They did it willingly, but didn't know that that was what was going to happen. Another example would be, maybe, you come here, somebody recruits you as like a nanny or something like that. And they're like, okay, we're going to file for you. We're going to, pay you a reasonable living wage when you get here, and give you reasonable hours and stuff like that. All of a sudden you come into the US, you're working on reasonable hours, you don't have any hours off, you're not making any pay, they're not providing the room and board that they promised you. Those are another example of when you could potentially qualify for a T visa. So remember, it's not necessarily that they transported you. It could be that, you were recruited, like lured into that labor or service through the use of force or coercion. And a lot of times they will threaten you where you don't feel free to leave. And that's why it's called involuntary servitude, where basically you feel you have a debt, like a debt bondage, right? That you're in bondage, or that if you try to leave, this person is going to call, USCIS and report or have you deported. So you have to not feel free to leave the situation. Another good example would be, let's say, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the word coyote. Like, a lot of countries in Central America, coyotes may say, I'll get you through the border, pay me $15,000, or your relative maybe in America is like, don't worry, pay 15,000. I'll pay the $15,000 for you to come here, free and clear. Just come in here, or whatever it is. You come into the country. Once you enter into the country, the person tells you basically, all right, you're now going to be in debt to them, even though they told you that they were doing it for you as a family member. And then they force you to work. Sometimes, you're physically or sexually abused. I'm told, well, if you don't do that, then they will report you. Or basically they collect everything that you're making and don't give you any source or livelihood. And basically, so if you quit that job, you're not going to basically, you're going to be deported. Or sometimes you can even have where they're like, okay, you agree and say, okay, you know what, I'll come here and work for 6 months for, to pay off that debt. And after 6 months, then you can just start paying regularly. But come 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, they keep telling you that you've not paid off the debt, and things like that. So that's kind of how T visas work. The benefits of T visas is that, with a T visa, if you get approved, you get the T visa. You can get the T visa for yourself and a lot of derivatives. And you can also get, and then you will get a work permit for yourself, and you're also eligible for public assistance. And then as long as you maintain good moral character and you're continuously present in the US, 3 years you'll be eligible to file for your green card. Now, sometimes you can file for your green card earlier if they've concluded the investigation, or whatever investigation law enforcement is doing. Like if it's concluded earlier, they're like, yeah, we're done with the investigation. You can file for your green card earlier. So this T visa is very beneficial to you and a lot of derivatives that follow you, including like, your children or your parents, your spouse, depending on the risk of the other people when you cooperate with law enforcement. Okay, so let me take some questions. Okay, good morning, Chase. Good morning, Sissy and Priscilla. Sean says, I have a quick question, but I don't see a question. Chase says this is his first time. Hey, good morning. Hi, Janore. Chef Pascal. Good morning, Sissy Berry, first timer. How long does it take to file for Valor from overseas? It takes the same time. Well, first of all, we have to determine that you're actually eligible to file for Valor. So we would have to, schedule consultation to discuss to make sure you're eligible, because in order to do it from overseas, there's some requirements that you would need. Proudly Evo says, good morning, attorney. Quick question. If you have a client who has a green card interview through VAR, will you attend this interview? Who are you talking about? Me? Yeah, I'll attend my client's interview if I'm available. If not, I'll have a coverage attorney attend the interview. And interview attendance can be either via telephone or in person, depending on the logistics of where the interview is, and whether the client is willing to pay a fee for me to fly out if it's not within my state of jurisdiction. For instance, my interview this morning was via phone. That got my client approved. That client was in Texas. My interview right after this live is in Washington, Seattle, and that will also be by phone. So technology has it where your attorney can attend your interview by telephone. It's the exact same as if we were there in person. How it works is when you get into the immigration interview room, you tell them that your attorney is appearing by telephone. The instructions say that your attorney can attend by telephone. They'll call your attorney, and then they'll place the attorney on speakerphone, verify that I'm your attorney, and then they'll begin the interview. So that's how it works. Let's see. Sunshine says, I have a question. Go ahead and ask your question, and I will try to answer. Shanae Spencer says, good morning. Can you file for your mom before? I'm assuming you're saying before you become a citizen in America. The answer is no. In order for you to file for your parent, you must be a U.S. citizen and you must be over the age of 21. Tyler Dan is asking, is it in person, naturalized, or over the phone? I'm assuming that I just answered the question whether I attended the interview in person or over the phone. Hi, Kachi, first timer. Lionel says, hello, thank you for all you, I'm assuming you do. I have a question to ask. Can you be eligible for VAWA if you were living with a U.S. citizen spouse outside of America more than 5 years? Well, was that U.S. citizen spouse in the military? And are you outside the U.S.? So there are many follow-up questions to that. If you live with a U.S. citizen outside of the U.S., the only time that you're eligible is if you can show that your spouse was in the U.S. military or that you lived with them at some point in the United States. Okay? So if you've never lived with them in the United States and they've never worked for the U.S. military, unfortunately, no, you wouldn't qualify. Dental says, should you have arrived on the T visa in order to qualify, even though you have you somewhat meet the requirement? No. So you don't arrive as a T visa. A T visa is basically a status that you're given here in the United States that allows you to stay in the United States. So you can't arrive as a T visa. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So in order for you to apply for a T visa, you must already be in the United States or at a point of entry through either deportation or not deportation, like you entered across the border or something like that. But you get it here in the United States, and that T visa. Look, think of it this way: it's almost like Valor, where the only difference is that with a T visa, you don't have to be married. You don't have to be married to a U.S. citizen. And T visas also, people in domestic relationships. So sometimes, hi Dimitri, how are you? Thank you. So for instance, like, let me talk about like a domestic example, like with a T visa. Like you could have somebody who comes here, that you petition for someone to come here, like on a fiancé visa or something like that. And the person gets here, and when they get here, they basically fall under this category where instead of them to marry them, they're basically abusing them, physically, and sexually, and telling them to do work. Forced labor could even be household work, like where it's like you have to wake up at like 4 a.m. to cook for me because I have to go to work, and at 5:30 a.m. to my construction site, or 6 a.m. You have to wash all my clothes. When I come back, a hot meal must be on the table. You must cook every day. You can't meal prep. Like you can't. I don't eat leftovers. I'm just using it as an example. So in that case, so even though that's a domestic situation, you could qualify for a T visa in that way. Good morning, Aisha. My question is not T visa related. I filed for Valor and got my prima facie, but realized my lawyer did not file my adjustment of status and EAD. We're doing it now, but is it safe? It's okay. Yeah, they should have filed it if you qualify, but it's not the end of the world if they're filing it now. That's fine as well. Oh, do you guys like my wall? I don't know if you guys can see my wall. I just, we're still working on our office in Atlanta. I'm still doing a lot of work in here, but I just put this pattern on my wall, and, I'm so excited about having a nicer backdrop instead of the white. Okay, so Minaj says, I'm asking this question for a friend. After he submitted his removal of condition, him and his wife separated. Will this affect anything? Yes, it could affect. Your friend needs to schedule a consultation because we need to know if we need to amend his application. Because if he or she ends up if he ends up getting called for an interview and the spouse is not available to attend the interview, he needs to be able to be eligible for a waiver, right? And separation is not enough for a waiver. Divorce is, if you can show divorce, you can get a waiver if you can show extreme cruelty and abuse. So those will be the things that will make him eligible. Can you file for your mother before becoming a citizen? The answer is no. You must be a citizen. Good morning, Maxine. Kachi says, how long does it take for me to file my paper when I'm done with my court marriage? It takes, the timeline is different. It depends. Are you consular processing? Are you here in America? Like, I need a little bit more to be able to give you a timeline. Nurse Bay says, oh my God, I didn't get a notification you were live. It's all good. You're here now. Janelle says, good morning. If I'm here visiting the US, can I get a sponsor to apply on my behalf instead of getting married? Well, I don't know because I don't know your condition. Generally, marriage is the only category that will allow you to stay here, or unless you have a child that's a US citizen over the age of 21, that will allow you to stay here if you've overstayed your time here. Otherwise, every other category needs you to be in status to petition. The problem with that is that a lot of those categories take time. So there's a possibility that you will not be in status at the time you need to be in status. So I would need to know a little bit more about your personal case, which you can schedule consult. Priscilla says, my question, I can't see your question, or did I answer it? Shannon says, good morning. Can you apply for Val without a petitioner? Well, you are the petitioner in Valor. Like, you're a self-petitioner. Valor is a self-petition. So I'm not really sure what you're asking. Are you asking, can you apply for Valor if you're not married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder? If you're not, you have to show that somebody makes you eligible. You are the self-petitioner, but somebody has to make you eligible to file for Val. Meaning you have to have suffered abuse from either a U.S. citizen or green card holder spouse, or a U.S. citizen child, or a U.S. citizen or green card holder parent. And in that case, you have to be under 21 or between 21 to 24. Okay, so Murphy says, can I adjust from family petition while in the U.S.? I entered with inspection. I'm currently DACA, just waiting on the visa bulletin. Possibly yes. Possibly yes. It depends on who the petitioner is and what your status is at the time. DACA is like on and off, on and off, on and off. So it would depend on when visa bulletin is available and what the rules are at that time. Can I apply for a driver's license while my I-130 is pending? This is unlikely, but also driver's license is governed by state. It's not a federal law, so you have to check with your own DMV in whatever state you're in. Usually they will have the requirements for immigrants and non-immigrants and how to be eligible for a driver's license. So that should be the first place you should check, okay? For those of you typing, I have a question. Just type your question. Chase Wood says, is there a time for questions and answers? Right now, type your question. How long will it take for my work permit to be out and also file for my green card? I don't know. It really depends. It really depends on what exactly you're applying for. Okay, Sunshine says, you still haven't answered my question. Okay, I think that's actually a rude comment, Sunshine. I will answer your question, not because of what you said, but because I think it's a good question to answer. But you guys have to remember, you're not entitled to me answer those questions. Like, I come on live to give you guys information. Like, you're not paying me to come on live. You're not entitled to me answering your question. I get a lot of questions on here, between different platforms on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And sometimes I can't get to everybody's answer. But if you want your question to be answered, it's good to be polite. And if your question doesn't get answered, you can always schedule a consultation, to get your question answered. Okay. So let me scroll back up to find your question. All right, so you say, how many years does a person have to be living here in order to apply for citizenship? It's not a question of how long you've lived here. It's a question of how long you've had your green card and your travel history. So first of all, if you're applying for citizenship generally without marriage being involved, you have to show that you've had your green card for 5 years, and of those 5 years, 2.5 of those years must have been in the United States. If you're applying through marriage, not only do you have to show that your U.S. citizen spouse has been a citizen for 3 years, you also have to show that you've been married for 3 years and you've had the green card for 3 years. You need to meet all of those in order to be eligible. Okay. Alton Bell says, good morning. I submitted my document in May and did my biometrics in June. And up to now, I don't hear anything anymore. Alton, what kind of case are you submitting for? Let me know. Oh my gosh, Arelis typed in Spanish. I can't read Spanish, so I would love to answer your question, but I can't read Spanish. You might want to do like a translate and then paste it in English, and I'll be happy to read it. And I don't have a translator here right now that can help me translate it, unfortunately. Sorry. Harvard Janora says, can I call you later? Certainly, schedule a consultation, 407-995-6567. If you're a client, you can also leave a message in the client portal if you'd like to be scheduled with me. How long will it take for my work permit to arrive? I submitted my adjustment of status application in February. So February was the 2nd, we're on the 10th, so that's about 8 months. So really, you're within the window of your work permit. If after next month you don't get it, then you can check the processing time based on your service center, and then maybe do an outreach to USCIS to see what's going on with that. Mr. Oyen says, thank you for all you do. Thank you. I appreciate it. Believer says, world's best lawyer on immigration matters. Thank you. Thank you. First timer, I got a question. I got a notification that a notice of I-360 sent to me was returned because USPS wasn't able to deliver it and nothing was sent to me and I couldn't request. So if you have an I-360 pending, you can't request. Like, you have to basically ask your lawyer to do an attorney hotline inquiry, which is only for attorneys, because Valor is a very secure process and confidential process. They don't want to put people at risk. So a lot of times they won't respond to anyone that is not able to identify themselves as the attorney of record. Love Muffin Paris says, after USCIS sends receipt that they received your application, what step is next? And how long does that take? When will you be able to travel out of the country? Typically what comes after the receipt is biometrics. After biometrics, sometimes you could also get your prima facie determination letter before your biometrics, but those two come in hand in hand. And then once you get that, you get your work permit. After your work permit, if they need additional evidence from you, like a request for additional evidence, they'll send it. Or if they need a notice of intent to deny, sometimes they'll send you an RFE before your prima facie. If the RFE needed is to make a decision on your prima facie, and then approval, and then green card interview, and then green card approval. So basically all those things is a 2-year requirement. It's a 2-year timeline. That being said, we have been rocking it. We've had some cases, in the last few days that have been approved. Like, we had this one client who submitted in November 2021, and what is today? We got the approval last week. Yeah, so like 11 months, which is not the norm. It takes like 2 years to 2.5 years. But so we're seeing some of that happen. And we're just hoping that we start seeing some more speed, in the processing. Okay, guys, let me take just a few more questions. I wanted to take this question because I think it's important. Kiara says, what if you get married before Valor is approved? If you get married before Valor is approved, you will no longer qualify for Valor, right? You're not going to get your green card anymore. So just hold off on the marriage. There's no need to rush into marriage. Wait till your petition has been approved, then you can marry after that. Melissa says, good morning, attorney. I have a question. My friend filed for Valor with I-485 and I-765. She realized that I-765 is under C-31. Can she also submit category C9? Thank you very much. No, she doesn't need to. So C-31 is actually means that her Valor was approved. Congrats to your friend. Her Valor was approved, because you're not going to get a C-31 if your Valor wasn't approved. The next thing is adjustment of status. So the question is, if your friend applied for adjustment of status, she should be getting called anytime soon for an interview to get the green card. If she never applied for adjustment of status, then she should be applying for adjustment of status so she can get that. But C-31 is a Valor approval. Congrats. Sunshine says, if a person lives here for more than 10 years with children and have a social security number, can they be eligible for citizenship? What is the process? No, in order for you to be eligible for citizenship, you need to be a green card holder. You don't get citizenship just because you live here. So D says, I got my 10-year green card this month through a petition to remove conditions and abuse. Congrats. When am I eligible for citizenship? I had my 2-year green card in 2020, January. So you're eligible now. So 2020, 21, January, 22, January. So you're eligible. So you have about 90 days from January 2020. So if you count the exact date in January, so not 2020, the exact date in January 2023, of when that's your 3-year anniversary. So if you got yourself, okay, let me say this in a less confusing way. You got your green card, your conditional green card in January 2020. They approved you for removal of conditions, okay? Because they've approved you for removal of conditions and they're giving you a 10-year green card based on abuse, you're eligible 3 years from the date you initially got that green card in 2020. So 3 years for you will be January of 2023. So you want to count 90 days before that time, and that will determine your eligibility. So depending on the date in January, you're very much eligible in this October. There are other requirements that you have to meet, including the travel requirements and person of good moral character, but certainly you're definitely in the window. Peace of mind, a consultation is $150. Hi, Dorothy. Good morning. Good morning, phenomenal ambitious. Nabu Iozoma says, I have a 10-year green card. Can I file for my brother? No, the only people that can file for siblings are U.S. citizens. How long does it take for a mother to file for her adult son? She's a U.S. citizen. So is adult son married or unmarried? Because that changes from F1 to F3. So depending on that, F1 right now, I think in October, it's like 8 years. Like the time is just getting longer, 7 or 8 years. And if it's married, then it's about 14 years. But you can check the visa bulletin, which is released every month for the exact timeline. Okay. Chase Wills, I don't handle deportations, to answer your question. Okay, let me take one of those questions from the question box. Ravid asked if I can apply for T visa outside of the U.S. No, you have to do it while you're in the U.S. In the case someone went for a marriage-based interview for over a year now, but still no response from immigration, what do you advise? You definitely need to reach out to immigration to find out what's going on. If nothing from immigration, you want to definitely consider congressional assistance. If that still doesn't work, then you want to consider suing USCIS to, make a decision on your case. All right, guys, that was fun. Let me see if I'll be able to come on live tomorrow. Like I told you guys, I got a lot of interviews this week. Yeah, I have another interview tomorrow. I can't come on live tomorrow, but I'll try and come on live on Friday. And I know I can't come on Thursday either. So maybe Friday. I'll see you guys live on Friday, somewhere between 10 to 11. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. If I didn't answer your question and you want to schedule a consultation, definitely call me, 407-995-6567. Also send us a WhatsApp, 404-333-8751. All right, have a good day. Bye.